You know, there are moments in life where you swear you've taken a wrong turn. You lose something you thought you needed. A plan collapses. A person leaves. And in that silence, you look around and it feels like life has pushed you into a corner you never asked for. But when you sit with it, when you stop fighting it for just a second, you realize something strange. Nothing is actually out of place. Every detour, every delay, every wound, it all carries a direction you can't see yet. I'm not saying it to sound mystical. I'm saying it because everyone eventually reaches a point where they look back and think, if that disaster didn't happen, I never would have become who I am now. Buddhist philosophy calls this right placement. Life isn't punishing you or rewarding you, it's positioning you. And the moment you stop asking why me and start asking what is this teaching me, everything begins to shift. When you really look at your life, you notice something almost embarrassing. The moments you hated the most shaped you the most. The heartbreak that forced you to grow up, the job you lost that pushed you towards something real, the loneliness that made you finally meet yourself. Buddhism teaches that life isn't random. It's not chaos. It's a mirror. Wherever you stand right now is an exact reflection of what you need to understand. Not what you prefer, not what you fantasize about, but what your growth actually requires. You think you're stuck, but you're actually being shown your blind spots. You think you're behind, but you're exactly on time for your own path. You think life is unfair, but it's quietly placing you in the only environment where you can wake up. Most people resist these moments. They panic. They fight reality. They cling to what's already gone. And that's when suffering begins. Buddhism calls this dukkha, the pain that comes from refusing to accept what already is. But when you stop resisting, something shifts. Your breathing slows, your mind becomes clearer, and suddenly, the thing you thought was hurting you starts teaching you, because life isn't interested in your comfort, it's interested in your clarity. It won't always give you what you want, but it will always give you exactly what you need to evolve. And once you understand that, everything, even the hard parts, begins to make sense. There's a moment in every man's life when he finally understands cause and effect. Not as some philosophical idea, but as a punch to the chest. It usually happens after life hits you so hard that you're forced to stop blaming luck, fate, or people, and you look straight at the chain of events that led you here. Buddhism calls this karma, but not the cartoon version people joke about. It's not cosmic punishment. It's the simple truth that every thought, every choice, every habit plants a seed. And sooner or later, those seeds grow into the reality you're standing in. When you see it clearly, it's humbling. Every late decision, every fear you gave into, every moment you avoided responsibility, every truth you ignored, they all stacked up, quietly, patiently, until they became this moment in your life. But here's the part no one talks about. Understanding cause and effect doesn't make you guilty, it makes you powerful. Because once you accept that your life is the product of the seeds you've planted, you also realize you can start planting different ones. And this is where personal experience kicks in. You've probably had times where you tried to force something to work, a relationship, a project, a dream, and no matter how hard you pushed, it resisted. Back then, it felt like the universe was against you. But now, when you look back, you see exactly why it didn't work. The causes weren't there. The alignment wasn't there. You weren't ready. And life knew it. Life places you in situations not to punish you, but to expose the cause that needs to change. Maybe you needed discipline. Maybe you needed honesty. Maybe you needed to stop clinging to people who were draining you. Maybe you needed to stand alone long enough to build a spine. Cause and effect is ruthless because it shows you that nothing in your life is accidental. That breakup, that failure, that phase where everything felt meaningless, they weren't random events. They were effects, the natural outcome of causes you didn't see at the time. Once you get this, everything changes. You stop seeing life as happening to you and start seeing it as happening because of you. And that subtle shift, that one realization, is the beginning of real peace. Acceptance isn't about giving up. It's about finally seeing reality without the blur of your expectations. Buddhism teaches that suffering begins the moment you argue with what already exists. And the second you drop that fight, clarity steps in. You felt this before? That moment after a breakup when the denial fades and everything suddenly becomes obvious. That moment after a failure when the dust settles and you finally understand why it had to fall apart. It's like life turns the lights on. Acceptance doesn't erase the situation, it just removes the confusion around it. And once the confusion is gone, you can actually move. You can make better choices. You can plant better causes. This is where the whole philosophy lands. Life puts you exactly where you're meant to be, not because of fate, but because each moment is the perfect mirror of the causes you've created. When you accept that, you stop suffering over what is, and you start working with it. When you really sit with all of this, you realize something simple. Life isn't trying to hurt you, or test you, or confuse you. It's trying to wake you up. Every moment you're living right now, good or bad, is part of that awakening. And maybe that's the whole point of Buddhist philosophy. Not to convince you that everything is perfect, but to show you that everything is precise. You don't need to rush. You don't need to force your path open. You just need to meet this moment honestly. Because this moment is exactly where your next step begins. So take a breath. Look around you. Whatever your life looks like right now, this is the right place to start. Not someday, not later, not when things feel aligned. Right here, right now, this is where you're meant to be.